Okay, we are going to do a video today on a game I've had for a while. It's called The Librarian's Apprentice, and it is a solo journaling game in an infinite library. It comes with these 3 folders as well as a bookmark character sheet that I don't have. I will say a couple things before we get into the gameplay. I've had this for about almost a year at the time of this filming. I think I printed this out myself. It's not even like actually a brochure. It's just 2 pieces of paper. I think now it is offered in a kind of professional print in a nice package that I do not have. So we're looking at components that was basically a P&P that I did without even doing the character bookmark, which is kind of cool. We're going to just make our own character sheet. Additionally, the game, to play the game, you need a deck of poker cards. So this is my deck of poker cards, and it is a regular deck of poker cards, even though it kind of has a cool theme to it. You need 2 D6s, and you need a way of keeping track and writing things down. You also can use or need a little marker or a token to represent your character as you travel through the map that you make. In addition to everything here, I am going to be bringing in a bunch of external material that you do not need to play this game, but I think for my own sense of the game, I haven't played it yet, but I have looked through the rules. For my own sense of it, I think I'm going to want to bring in a few other items, and those items are, at least my anticipation of what I'm going to be using, are a few tables from the game Fallen by Perplexing Ruin. These are some basically nouns and verb tables that are here. I'm going to be possibly using something from the Stygian library. This is something I probably have shown on the channel. It is in and of itself an entire setting. It's a dungeon for bibliophiles, and it may or may not come into play, but it's a library thing that I had, so I'm bringing it to the table. From the Hack and Slash Compendium, I may they've got some tables, some various minor magical items tables here, and something interesting pieces of treasure. I don't know, we'll see. And then unusual pieces of treasure, just to try to liven up the offerings. And also I try to get to the table the resources that I have and rotate them in to use them. And then I have from Realm Fables, I believe I have shown this somewhere on the channel. This is from Shield Ice Studio. This miscellany happens to have an entire section that is devoted to random tables for libraries. Now, so we've got about librarians, librarian appearances. There's a lot of stuff on libraries here. Now, I will say in the Librarian's Apprentice, you do get this. So you don't need anything else except this to play the game. I'm just sort of anticipating possibly wanting to supplement. And then I also have this deck of cards, which is a way of getting some adjectives and pictures and things. This may or may not come into play as well. But when thinking about this game, I thought of that deck. In the Librarian's Apprentice, you have, in the 3 volumes, you've got the basics of the rules, and you have the list of your actions. I think I'm going to just demonstrate this through gameplay and not walk you through exactly what those are. Then you have the 2nd volume are descriptions, events, and complications. So these are some of the tables that you will be rolling on to describe the room, the documents, your events and secrets that may happen, complications that may happen. And then finally, you have a brochure that has an entire thing about sort of NPCs and patrons and things that you may encounter in the library. What is the goal of this game? Well, the goal of this game, let's read this description here about what's going on here. That infinite, ever-shifting, and sometimes dangerous, the library exists in the space between worlds and times. Among the many who call it home are their librarians, and only those who truly understand it may join their ranks. You seek to do so. The path of a librarian's apprentice is a long one. Your current task is designed to test your skills at traversing the library and locating documents. Find the information requested by your librarian before the day is out, and you will have completed one more step on your journey. So essentially what you're trying to do is to find certain documents in the game, and the documents are represented by any time you are able to add a face card to the map that is the representing of the fact that there is going to be a document there potentially for you to discover. And so you're going to have the opportunity through the random draw to do that. Now, as you'll see as we get into the game, every time you turn over cards, you can't necessarily add them to the map. So it isn't as easy as all that. And we'll get into that as we see the gameplay. There are mechanics for performing actions in this game, and it involves drawing from this deck of cards and rolling 2d6 and comparing your values to get the outcome of how successful you are or are not in the action. And then that, depending on how successful you are, you'll get to do certain things with the cards or not, like put them onto your map or keep them in your resources for later use and later benefit that you might need. But that is enough of an overview. I think the last thing I wanted to say is there is at the acknowledgments here, the credits here of the game, there are acknowledgments. You can pause and see what the game was inspired by. And when I was looking back in the files that I originally downloaded, there's another file that's not printed out here. That's a kind of how to play example with further acknowledgments. And I was really surprised and touched to see that the designer of this game, who I don't know at all, has acknowledged Geek Gamers, myself, as an inspiration, as one of the inspirations for the game. So if the designer's watching, I just want to say thank you for that. I was really surprised and touched to see that. And it's a great game to acknowledge me for, because as some of you may know, I am a book editor in the real world. And I think that book editors and librarians share some affinities in life and in their approach to reading material, not the least of which is that on some level it's our livelihood, but a kind of different relationship to books than other people have because of that. So with all that said, we're going to get into playing the Librarian's Apprentice. I'm going to make this, my plan for the video is to at least show you enough gameplay to maybe get to hopefully the discovery of at least one of the documents, show you how I build a character and incorporate the journaling aspect to it, some of my other supplementary material. The last thing I say that I want to point out that I'm going to be using to keep track of everything is my Dungeon Year design journal. I'm going to be creating the map here as well to annotate it and keep track of things, because when you do build the map, you get these cards and you need to sort of refer back to what you have created them to be. And don't worry, I'm going to shuffle this deck before we get going. So I'm going to be recording my actions and the library development here in the journal. Again, you can use whatever you want to record things. And of course, with any journaling game, you can spend as much or as little time as you want on the actual journaling part. And of course, it says that in here in the rules. And we'll see, I'm probably going to take a middle passage there in terms of how much I write down. But I do want to create my character and give my character enough of a backstory so that when I am rolling on the random tables in here, I feel like there's some narrative direction that my character would naturally take with the random results that I get. All right, we're going to start out with character creation here. And the first thing we're supposed to do is fill in our names and pronouns. Then we are going to be assigning a bonus to the skills, +2 to the skill we're best at, +1 to the skill we're good at, and +0 to the last skill. Now, I will caution you here, if you are like me and don't end up having or printing their character sheet, you're going to be a little confused, because though the skills are mentioned in passing in the actions, there's not anything here that says what they are, which I think is a little unfortunate, but the skills are navigation, research, and lore. So we will be making that decision. For my name, I'm never really great at coming up with names. So off camera, I went to the Treacheries of the Troublesome Towns and flipped through to find a little name here. This is an impling, and this is obviously an enemy here, but they're vigilant watchers with eagle eyes, obedient to a fault, and they're a crossbreed from imps and halflings. I'm going to call my character Impling. So we're going to have Impling the Apprentice Librarian is my name, and I'm going to just do no pronouns as I do when I do these games, probably default calling him a he. And we will think about, I think I want to do a +2 on research, a +1 on lore, and I'm going to just go with the 0 on navigation, sort of feeling like if I wander around and don't really need to go where I'm going, maybe that doesn't really matter as much. Then it says it's dangerous to go alone. Take a familiar. Pick the type, pick the skill it adds +1 to, and name it. It can absorb 1 fatigue in your stead, but then no longer provides the skill bonus until the fatigue is cleared. That will make sense as we start to play. And again, it doesn't here tell you what the options for familiars are, but on the character card, it tells you that it can be one of these 3 that are listed in the bestiary: this catacoon, which is a part lemur, part raccoon, and all trouble; a glowmite, a crab-light automaton with glowing gems, often tasked with cleaning the library; or this nociphage, aka a book licker, a withered husk of a person from the burned section, steals words and knowledge from documents by licking them. I'm going to go with a glowmite. My glowmite is going to be called Biscuit, and it's going to be Impling the Apprentice Librarian with their glowmite companion named Biscuit. So I'm going to give now this says cleaning the library, so I'm going to say that because they clean the library, they are going to be absorbing or having a benefit on lore. So I'm going to get the +1 lore from Biscuit the Glowmite. I'm going to have the +2 on research, and that's going to be the stats for Impling the Apprentice Librarian. Okay, I've got this noted down, and I'll say I've made a change. I decided that Biscuit, the Glowmite, is going to give me a +1 navigation, which will even things out a little bit. These are my skills and my fatigue here and my familiar here. And now this is where it gets more interesting. So we need to select some truths from the background and to flesh out our character. It says our background, we have options here. If you know Geek Gamers channel at all, you know that I always give any character I play with a trinket to start, and here is the option to do so. We were found at a library entrance as an infant. What trinket was found with you that you still keep around your neck? That's going to be on some level the basis of everything. So I'm going to go to the minor magical items table here, I think, because I want it to be hopefully something good, but not so super good. This is a D100 table. And again, just as a reminder, this is outside of the necessary things to do in this game. This is just something I'm bringing to it. We rolled an 86. So let us see what our little trinket is that we have here. 86. Ooh, it's not so little. It's a winged black cat. When you tap on its nose, it enters stasis. This is why you found it in a treasure chest. I think to fit with the theme or the concept of something being a minor trinket, I am going to say that what I have is a necklace that within the necklace is this flying cat. And maybe when my character feels like the need to calm themselves or something, they can hold it in their hand. Maybe it emits like a warmth, and then the flying cat kind of settles down and goes to sleep or something like that. So I'm going to say that my character has this trinket that it helps my character kind of calm down and regroup. Whether or not this is going to have a mechanical implication in the game, in other words, whether I'm going to change the rules of the game to have that have an impact, I don't know yet, probably not. But again, we're just kind of trying to give a little extra here to our character. And again, to restate what was already said, this is a journaling game. So you could decide to take it really in any direction you want, and maybe in the context of the story that would have some actual implications. We will see. So our community. So there's options here. And again, you could do like a D3 roll if you weren't sure. I think we have option of a librarian and apprentice. We suspect our librarian is keeping secrets from us, or we live with our family who are royal librarians of a lost kingdom. Why does your family never settle in one place for long? Or we live in the periphery, like an enclave at the perimeter of the burned section. But I'm going to go with we live with our family, royal librarians of a lost kingdom who travel throughout the library. Why do we never settle in one place for long? And to get the suggestion of an answer for that question, I think I'm going to go to some prompt table here, and we've got adjectives, verbs, and nouns. Let's start with, these are D100 again. Let's get, let's see what we get. An adjective, we got 55. So we have nearby, and 78 is nearby, embolden. All right, let's get a noun here. Let's get a noun. 55 again is interpretation. Nearby, embolden, interpretation. Well, I think what that's going to suggest is that why do we never settle down? Well, we were royal librarians, and perhaps near our kingdom, there was another kingdom, and it was book-based. The world is book-based here, and the other kingdom rebelled against the interpretations that we were offering, or the openness of our library, perhaps, and clamped down on what could be read and what could not be read, and that type of relationship to books began to take over, and our kingdom became smaller and smaller and smaller, and eventually we had to flee. And so that is why we have never settled in one place or another, and we have gone around the world with our smaller and smaller open library, but that is not the dominant world anymore. And maybe that is also why our character is kind of nervous and has this pendant with the winged cat that they need to calm themselves every now and again with. Just a thought. All right, and then finally, library. The library itself. The library is a sentient place. A librarian knows how to communicate it. The library whispered to you once, what did it say? Or it's a collection of living spaces, each section its own creature. A librarian is chosen by their section. You've heard stories about a section that went rogue, what happened to it, or the library is an ecosystem. A librarian helps keep it balanced. What is your favorite season in the library? Well, I think I'm going to kind of go with the library is an ecosystem, and I'm not going to go with the season metaphor, but I'm going to go more with just this concept of a librarian being somebody who is keeping the library balanced, as in a place where any type of material, any type of position, any type of view, any type of writing, any type of concept is equally present, and that it is basically just a cornucopia of ideas that patrons can have access to in a balanced way, that it doesn't have its agenda one way or the other. It's just a blank slate full of, it's not a blank slate, but it is an even playing field slate where any idea is allowed to grow, be interpreted, and be researched and talked about. So that is the truths about my librarian. And with all that done, we're going to set out on the game. And it says, when you start a game, you draw a card and place it face up in front of you. If it's a face card, you're going to reshuffle because that's what you're looking for with the documents. Place your token on the card to indicate your character is there. This is the librarian's office. As you travel through the library, you will add more cards to your map, and each card is a new area. So to build the map, it's explaining to you if you get a card that's higher, you're going to put it above your card, lower is going to be below, or the same value will be beside it. And it will tell you how to move and then rolling on certain tables to build out the themes of the new areas. Again, it says your goal here is you've been tasked with recovering information from 6 requested documents. And when you add a face card to the map, a document you seek is present in the area. So that's when you need to look for it. Some action outcomes will require you to mark fatigue. When all your fatigue is marked, your day is over. So you have to attempt another time. So basically you have your 4 fatigue plus the 1 from your familiar, and you need to win the game, and you need to find your 6 documents in a single day. Some things will happen where you discover a complication, and when we get to this, we'll see how this works. And let's see, we've done all of that. Okay. So how do we perform actions? Well, we sort of talked about this already, but I'll show you again before we get going. When we want to do an action, we're going to be drawing 2 random cards as so. And then we're going to be rolling our 2d6. When you roll these, you're going to add your applicable skill or bonus. So in our case here with our character, let's say we rolled this 10 and we were trying to move. Well, we have no bonus, so we would get this. We have the 1 navigation bonus from our familiar, so that would turn that to an 11, which would put us in the light. If we were, let's say we rolled like a 7 here, and we were trying to do a navigation, well, that would come to an 8. That's going to be below both of those values, so we would be in darkness. You then look to what you were trying to do to see the impact of all of this. So, for example, if we ended in darkness, we could add either card to the map. So we could make a choice about which card we added to the map, and we would have to discard the other card and discover a complication because that was like a failure. However, if we had a shadow result, like we were in the middle, we could add one of these cards to the map and simply just discard the other one. However, if we were in the light, we could also add either card to the map, and it says we could trade in the other. So we could make a decision here. So trading means you can, if it's a club or a spade, you could trade it in to get +1 resource. Resources are sort of abstracted. Or if it's a heart or a diamond, in this case, we could trade it in to clear a fatigue, or we could save it for later use. So that's an example of just with the navigation, how the outcome. Well, sorry about that. I lost some memory there. In any case, what I was saying is that the outcome of all the actions is going to be dependent on whether you allow yourself or whether you end up in light, shadow, or darkness. And those are the actions that involve your attributes, your skills. Or action you could take, which is to ask a question. So the Oracle is an action in the game, and as such, when you roll on this, you would not be using any modifier beyond a sense of whether you think the answer is likely, unlikely, or just regular, which you could just leave it at a +1, and then it gives you and explains to you the outcome depending on whether you get light, shadow, or darkness there. So you have the Oracle built in as well. So I think that's enough preamble in terms of our character and explaining most of the rules. And as such, we're going to set out, we will shuffle our deck of cards. Again, this is a poker deck, and you're instructed at the outset to draw a card that will be the starting room, your office. And if it's a face card, we will redraw and then reshuffle, and otherwise we will begin here with the 8 of spades, this being our office, and this is going to be the representation of the librarian's apprentice who is here in the office. Now, we are going to roll on some of the tables that the game provides to come up with a description of where we are. And the way these work, these are D66 tables, so you'll be rolling 2d6 and reading them sequentially. And when I do this, I'm always rolling and reading in alphabetical order. So in this case, it would be green and purple. And if I happen to pick up these two, it would be green and orange. The reason I have this rule for myself, and this would be the black and the white, is because I always have so many dice lying around that I can just be picking up things randomly, and then I don't want to get stuck. So as long as it's two separate colors, I'll be in good shape. So this is going to be a 1 and a 6 for the descriptor here, and it's cheerful. So right at the outset, we have a cheerful office, and let's just do some different dice here. We got a 1 and a 5, a cheerful office, a feature. It has eggs. Okay, that's odd. And the category, well, maybe the eggs are some type of category of book. Let's see. And we have a 6 and a 2 here. Things that are lucky. Well, we have, that's the category. So we have a sense here of cheer, eggs, and things that are lucky. And this is the office that we are setting out on. I don't have much more to say about it other than that. And so what we do is to move through the game. The next thing we're going to do per the rules is, it says here that we will be starting the game, drawing a card, placing it face up, putting our token, that's our office. As we travel, we add more cards to the map. Each card is a new area. When you add a card, you are placing it in this manner. So, okay, so what we're going to be doing is we're going to be traveling. So we're going to draw 2 cards, and we got a 9 and a 5, and we will be then rolling on our navigation to make this travel journey here, and we have a +1 on our navigation from our familiar. And so we have here, we're going to be adding the score, so that's going to be a 10 +1 is an 11, so we are higher than both. So we are going to end in the light, and it says when we are ending in the light, we can add either card to the map and we can trade in the other. So we have here a spade and a club, and we can refer here to this, and it says that we will be able to trade in for +1 resource if we do this. So it doesn't really matter so much, I think, which we keep or not. It really has to do with if we keep the 5, we're going to be moving in this direction. If we kept the 9, we would place it here. I think maybe I'll keep the 5 just for the video for right now. We're going to trade in the 9. We will mark that we have a +1 resource. And as mentioned, we can collect these resources and use them for various things in the game. And then once we've done that, this represents a card that is traded in. So we're now going to move down into this next area here, and we can roll on the table to describe the room. And we'll do that here, the room descriptor. And the room descriptor is going to be a 6 and a 4, underwater, and have a feature of some sort. And the feature is going to be underwater paintings. Interesting. And let's see what the category is of those. I think I read those dice backwards, but 6 and a 3 is too heavy to lift. Underwater paintings, too heavy to lift. The paintings really were meant to be invisible walls, I think. But we'll stick with underwater paintings, too heavy to lift. And maybe here I'll go outside the rule set a little bit and just see what other type of details we can build out in this underwater room here. So this is like stepping back a little bit in the library here. The most prominent feature in this library that has the first room, it's cheerful, but there's underwater paintings here. So the most prominent feature is going to be, ooh, that was weird, an 11. Great tapestries that show all the known alphabets. So this is back to the theme of plentitude and multiplicity that this library is, at least has the memory of. Maybe that's the memory of it in the tapestries, if not actually in the library itself. And let's see if there's a library secret here that is relevant to us. This is a 3D20 roll, and see if I can gather 3D20s quickly. All right. 3D20s, and we got 16, 7, and 3. The library's secret is a vagabond passes around a note about a glowing scroll on a high shelf. So maybe the library secret, this is giving us an indication that one of those parchment things we need is going to be in a place with a high shelf. Now, of course, we know per the rules of this game that it will be on a face card, but perhaps that will be clearer when we get to the description of the face card. We're going to be able to find it on a high shelf somewhere. So we're going to decide to travel through or pass out of this underwater, this room here with the underwater paintings. We're going to do a travel move, and we will draw 2 more cards for that. And we have a 7 and we have an 8. And we were going to roll again plus navigation, which is a +1. And we got a 6 plus 1 is 7. So this is going to give us a shadow result. We get to add either card to the map, but we have to discard the other card. And so they're going to be both placed kind of above this one. I'm going to place this card here. Now, there are no specific rules for placement, and this is where I do need to, off camera, I want to map this out, because I think this gets a little imprecise and messy. One of the things when I originally saw this game that used playing cards for a map that I wanted to explore, because it wasn't in the rules, is having some type of situation or rule or mechanic whereby when cards of the same number were adjacent to each other in some fashion, or some implication of that. I don't really know what the implication of that would be, but I feel that the game could be helped in some way if that was the rule was a case. Maybe it would require or allow for a beneficial roll on research to learn more about the place. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place this card here, and we will just do the roll that is from the material in the book for a description of this room, and then I may pause for a moment and think about this. We got a 1-1, so that's arboreal, and see the feature here is a 42. Oh, an orrery. And I mean, it would make sense. We have water. Maybe we're dealing with the 4 elements here, and then 5 and a 2, saved a life. The category is saved a life. So I need to think a lot about this and figure out also how I'm going to map this out and how much detail I'm going to give to the mapping of this place and the travel through it. And then I will come back and I'll walk you through what I've developed and my thought process in doing so. All right, so here we are. I feel we're very much still in the kind of world building phase here, but I did feel the need to sketch out what we've got and make a few points about it. We have this concept that this is a library that has the great tapestries showing all the known alphabets. We have this basically like a rumor of a glowing scroll on a high shelf. The theme of the alphabets and the scroll, language unknown, kind of active generation of things. The scroll suggests some sort of magical thing here. And I mentioned that this concept of maybe the elements, because we had the kind of the tree area with this solar system theme of the world, the universe. We have the water here. Maybe this is like water and earth or something. I don't really know. And then that cheerful egg kind of relates back to the tree in a way. You got an egg and a nest in a tree. I don't know. This is sort of what I'm thinking. And I think to move along here, what I'm going to do, well, two things. One, I note now when I drew this out that I made these both dead ends by accident, basically. I just didn't, in my sketch, properly account for the fact that we're going to be leaving these rooms. And so at this point, we don't have anywhere to go. This is a broken area because it represents kind of, I thought this underwater, maybe it was a lower level or something. So I'm going to take that mistake and say that it means I will be rolling on the event complication table. Now, unless I missed it in the rules, it doesn't really direct you as to when to roll on this. This is a 2d6 table, so we're going to use the lack of an obvious place to go as a suggestion of a place of this event table that we're going to be rolling on. So we will roll our blue and our green, and we'll read 5 and a 6. So 5 down, 6 over. And we see here a ring of keys rests on the floor. Oh, they can be taken and used to resolve a complication. Great. Well, I'm going to say that the key is going to show me a secret door. So that is going to allow us to leave this room, and we will note that we have picked up some keys here, and keys can resolve a complication. We didn't get the complication, and in fact, we were helped out here by the presence or finding of a secret door will allow us to leave this room. So we will do the travel action again, and we'll draw. Oh, I wasn't supposed to have jokers in this deck, so travel action, and we found a face card. So if we are able to place this face card, we will be able to search for our first document. So we're rolling the 2d6, we're summing the total, and we're getting a +1 for our travel value here. And so we got a shadow result. So that is going to allow us to place this face card because we can add either card to the map and discard the other. So we're going to be able to place this face card, and actually it makes sense here thematically that it would be behind a secret door, because this is going to be the place where one of the documents that we need is going to be. So let's roll first of all on the room descriptor here and see what we have here, and that will read that black and blue 64. Again, underwater. Okay, underwater. And, well, it's placed actually above. I guess I had it here below, but it's supposed to be placed above because it's a higher value. So we are traveling up here, but it's more underwater. And let's see what the feature is here. A feature is armor. And let's get a category. And the category is 62, things that are lucky. We got lucky again, because as you recall, we got things that are lucky here in our office. So we have underwater, armor, things that are lucky. We had here underwater paintings. Now, this is the place where our document is going to be. So the information in this document is presented as 32 runes on a meal. Runes on a meal. That makes no sense, but we have eggs. We have the food potentially there. Runes on a meal. This is very, very arbitrary to me, and I'm not sure how to make sense of it. I think I'm going to I'm going to go to this. I've got this deck of signs here, and I'm going to see if I get something here that's going to help. So I just pulled this in because like we're using cards, and we're using cards to build the map, and I thought they kind of fit thematically. So basically, this is a deck. I'll just show you an example of one of them. This is a deck, and on every card in the deck, you have a noun, you have a verb, you have an adjective, and you have like a sort of a tone or a vibe or an ambience word, and then you have a drawing. And they don't necessarily relate to each other at all. You can use them as you like. You can flip through to get multiple adjectives. You could use a card and get your noun and your adjective from the same card or the different card. So we have, say, a serpent that's revered as opposed to a serpent that's poison, things of that nature. Anyway, I'm just going to randomly get a card here to see if this can give me some direction, because I'm not off the top of my head feeling how I can kind of wing this, given what a rune on a meal. I mean, I guess the concept consumption, if we take the word meal, the rune consumption, maybe this is what it is. Maybe our goal here in collecting these documents is we need to actually consume them. Like that's how we're going to collect them, that we actually have to consume them, and that the great tapestries showing all the known alphabets are really memorials to people who have traveled through, that these alphabets are actually representing, the letters are representative of prior adventurers who had been here, and the glowing scroll on the high shelf is the thing that imbues the place with the magic that allows somebody to do that. So when a good soul comes through to collect these scrolls, it is possible with the magic. So I kind of like that. I kind of like that concept. That said, let's see. Let's just randomly look at a card here, and I don't know. Just look at a card here. Oh. Okay, this was random. Scribe. Crazy. Marking, focus, understanding. Well, there we have it. That's it. That's it. That I promise you that was a weird random card. It happens to support our little story that we've been developing. Maybe this is us. Maybe this is our librarian, but the bottom line is that we are going to collect this first document by consuming it. We are going to becoming part of the language, part of the library itself, and that is how we're going to fulfill our mission here in this library. And this kind of feels like a good place to end the demo right here, because it's open-ended, but it also kind of fits together in a way, and I think it gives a pretty fair representation of how the game goes. We only ever did use our travel action because we never got to a complication, and the research, I wasn't really totally clear about when or if I needed to use the research every time I searched for something or added detail to a room. So I think maybe you could play the game where, in order to even roll on the descriptors, that would be like conducting research. I didn't do that. I think you could play that way, and maybe that would bring in a few more things in terms of using complications or gathering your resources and needing to use them, because there is an aspect to the game where you may need to manage your fatigue as you go through the game if you are getting fatigued, because remember, once you are completely fatigued, the day ends, and you're supposed to get all your 6 documents before the day ends. So I think this is a lovely thematic game that was pretty easy for me to get involved with, partially because just the concept of libraries in and of themselves is something that automatically, just you say the word library and I'm kind of already drawn in. So a lot of the work of garnering interest just already naturally happened by the decision of the designer to set their game in a library. In terms of the materials themselves, the other thing we didn't look at all is the third brochure, which I can't seem to find right now, that has the information for NPCs and library positions and things. And I think that that may have been, it kind of slipped my mind that it existed, but I think the additional descriptors here, even if you didn't use them for NPCs per se, the appearances, these adjectives could be helpful, as well as obviously developing an NPC with their interests and such, and library positions and things could really build that out. I just didn't get that far here in this video, but as I proceed with the game, I have to remind myself to make use of the third volume here because there is a lot in there in terms of the random tables. I think the rules themselves, like I said, just a teeny bit of a tweak, putting the stats in up front and not just having them implied here, or the attributes or whatever these are called, I think would be a little helpful because I was confused initially on that, partially also because I didn't print out the character sheet, but I don't think there should be rules on the character sheet that aren't in also actually the rules, because not everybody likes to use the character sheets. For me, drawing out the information was super useful. The building of the map with the cards was a little clunky, even just for these first few rooms, and certainly expanding it, I think, would contribute to that. But it came together for me when I started to actually map it out. And when I continue on with the game and I'm not actually filming, I will be drawing the card and then just sort of putting it aside and really just working with the map, because as I said, I think for me that is it's just easier and it makes it more cohesive, and also just makes it easier for me to just understand. So that's a look inside the Librarian's Apprentice, and it is a solo journaling game in an infinite library that gives you a lot of prompts, a lot of theme, a lot of jumping off points to develop your own story. It's, as you can see, it could be a little bit wacky, and I don't know where this one's going to go. But now I've developed this character that is actually to do their mission, to become to fulfill the goal that they need to do as the apprentice. They actually have to consume the documents, consume the language that they are seeking, and that's kind of cool that that developed out of this game. Thanks for watching.